waste of my time. I have an array of distinguished guests with me, and I choose to start from my extreme left, where I have a public affairs analyst, the senior pastor of Sword of Liberation Bible Church, Bishop Austin Igbasan. Thanks for coming, Bishop.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, viewers.
And next to Bishop Austin Igbasan is a very articulate legal practitioner, Emmanuel Obakwalo. Thanks for coming, Emmanuel.
It's a delight being here. Good morning.
And of course, I have another public affairs analyst, and he is Omogbe I14. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much, Philip, for having me this morning.
All right. This beautiful morning, I've got Ibrahim Momo, a political economist from Ekwoma, joining me via Zoom. Good morning, Ibrahim.
Well, it's a pleasure to join you on the studio.
Good one, Ibrahim. And I believe we're going to be having this opportunity to really interrogate the process as regards the economy. But I'll come back to you. But let's quickly kick it off with Bishop Austin Igbasan. Let's get your perspective of the 150 billion naira loan grants for the MSMEs and manufacturers. We understand that about 700,000 applications have been received, according to the statement credited to the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, and the person of Dr. Doris Udoka. So we're looking at this. How do you grade this development? Because some have said that they can hardly see this coming into fusion.
Well, it's a good plan by the government, and it is not about the plan that is more important, but the implementation of the plan. I think considering the situation in the country, is a good plan to ameliorate and encourage. A lot of companies are leaving the country because of the economic hardship and the cost of running their business. So it is important for every good leader to be able to look at how to cushion the effect of the economy. That's one of the palliatives that can be given to manufacturer and the small and medium-scale business owner, because it's important, and I think that such ought to be done even at the state level by state governors. But you see that many state governors today, even what come from the federal, they close it up on their own, except the masses is able to open their mouth and speak, because it's important that you be able to cushion the effect of what is happening right now and be able to give some palliative to the company, so that if a company closed down in a particular environment, it has a ripple effect on the economy itself, have ripple effect on security, because people will be laid out of their job, and an idle brain is the workshop of the devil. I think that the area of implementation is where I have issue, that there must be proper implementation. Don't forget that the previous government had other palliatives given to companies and the rest of them, like anchor borrowers money. A lot of persons who have never been to farm claim to be farmer, and they collected this loan, and at the end of the tenure of Emefiele, he was not able to give account of the anchor borrower. What is important is that I think that going through the process of screening the real people, because don't forget that politicians will also come in who are not into any business at all, and they are going to have some list of people that they are going to roll in into this. So, but I think I follow very closely the stages with which they were registering and perusing all those who are submitting application, because this is not the first time it will happen in the country. But I said it's a good plan of the federal government to be able to boost the economy and also make people to run their business without pain and ache. But the area of implementation, so that the right people, the real local manufacturer, will be able to be the one that will benefit. I say I don't have fear. I don't have too much fear as far as this government is concerned. One of the things that has happened, look at Innoson, look at the CNG. These are mindset of the Mr. President to look beyond outside and be able to look at the manufacturers inside and be able to boost them. Because when we buy from Innoson and all the local manufacturers, we are boosting our own economy instead of going elsewhere to get these things done. So I think it's a good development. The area we need to focus on are the people that are going to benefit from it, so that they will be held accountable. Anchor borrowers money today, nobody goes to jail, nobody has been caught by EFCC. because it has also fizzled out. We shouldn't let this one go in that direction.
Yeah, you still have the floor. You said you don't have much fear or too much fear about this administration. And you also brought up issues concerning the previous administration under former President Muhammadu Buhari under the ACOS Borrowers program. Now, don't you also have this, like you said, you just hope that the implementation process goes through. But don't you see the presence of this endemic challenge we have in governance, where it's one thing for the government to make an announcement about this intervention program. It's another for those who implement to find ways to divert or misappropriate these funds. Don't you think these elements are still present in the administration of President Bola Tinubu?
You can't rule it out, sir. You can't rule it out. Even among the 12 disciples, there's one who is a betrayer. There's another one who denied Jesus Christ publicly. Deny it about 3 times. So we can't rule it out. But one thing that gives me assurance as far as this administration is concerned is that rapid response to issues. If you look at the issue of the woman who was heading humanitarian affairs. Now, I remember in the days of Buhari, when the issue of grass cutter ministry happened for the secretary of the federal government, we shouted to the roof for almost 2 years. The man look as if he doesn't hear what we're saying, because that man is one of his kitchen cabinet and the person he trusted in. But why I said my fear is not too much is that there is always a rapid response from Mr. President to issues. This is not the president that say presidency said. If you remember the days of Buhari, you have presidency said. We have a president that comes to attend to issues. Look at the issue of ASU. Look at the issue of student law. Look at the issue of the Labour Congress. We were out here when our children were out of school for 8 months. And Buhari was not, he doesn't care about it. At the end of the day, on the valedictory night of that government, the Minister of Education said, I know nothing about education. The man just put me there. And you remember that there was a professor who was a junior minister who is an educationist, and there's always clash. If you look at this government, it's quite different. You see in the former government, you see permanent secretary saying something different, junior minister say something different, senior minister say something different, in the same government, in the same party. But you see that this kind of government, if you look at security service chief, during Buhari, the chief of naval staff, chief of air staff, they don't worship in the same mosque. And these are people that need to form synergy to deal with security. But today you see the kind of security service chief here, the way they are proactive and the cooperation, the synergy, sharing of security information and work together. So I think, and that is what I've seen about this government, that rapid response. Exactly. You are not going to rule it out that you will not have Satan. Okay. That you will not have people who will want to infiltrate the system. But the issue is that when you have leadership that is able to attend to the issue, and save the stitches and attend to it immediately, even though if Mrs. Betta have not been laid to rest, but issues as far as it is concerned, because it has to do with the masses, a rapid action was taken immediately, and she was laid off the job, and so many investigations going on. So I believe that leadership is about attending to issue, not waiting until it deteriorates and is out of place. Look at the protest that took place. 2 weeks to the protest, Mr. President called the traditional ruler, called a lot of people and said, this is what I'm doing. Go back and tell your people, look at what we are doing, look at what we are going through, look at how it is going to work out. That is leadership, not allowing the country to go in flame and say nothing will happen.
Thank you, Bishop.
So that's why I said, my fear is, my little fear is that devil will come in, but the leadership, we have a check and balance by Mrs. Adiza, okay, who also checks some of these ministers and look at the excesses.
Thank you, Bishop.
Actions
You've articulated a point, and I was looking at the body language of Emmanuel Bakpolo. With the quizzing eyes, he was looking at you over what you said. You made the mention of, and you repeated it severally, that the president has quick response to issues. You know, you made number of issues like that of ASU, and of course looking
NLC.
at the NLC. Now, I don't know if your perception is different, Emmanuel Bakpolo, because from your body language, it seems so.
Yes, my perception is different. I beg to differ from what my respected father, the Bishop, just said. Look, it is high time we told ourselves the truth in this country. If not, we will remain the way we are. If not, go worse. Now, we've heard of different information from different quarters with respect to this 150 billion purportedly to be given as either palliative or loans. This is a country where we don't have records. This is a country where people are not accountable. He cited Beta Edu. Till now, what is the position in the case of Beta Edu? Nobody can tell. I want to even believe that she's still occupying that office by proxy. Look, we are talking of 150 billion naira to be given to
MSMEs and manufacturers.
We have dilapidated companies, indigenous companies, public companies that have collapsed in this country. Are we saying that money will not be enough to give life to some of them or one of them? We have the Ajakuta Steel Company. We have the Delta Steel Alaja. We have the Castilla Steel Olimi. We have the Textile in Kaduna. We have Textile here. We have different companies who are, they died out of government policies. Look, at the emergence of this government, they did tell us that they were going to look for investors. I laughed. Do you look for investors, or investors will come when your economy is okay? The investors will on their own come. They will look for you. But here we are being deceived. Now that they find out that they can no longer convince or confuse or both any person, foreigners, to come in and invest in our country, where country that is barricaded with insecurity. The issue of insecurity is there. And you are telling me that you want to groom manufacturers. Who is going to grant them their security? What is the singular reason why some of the companies we have there today in Nigeria are leaving this country? Why? What is it? One of them is insecurity. Two is government policies. See, government will now pretentiously give people money with the right hand and behind take it with the left hand. Is that not the practice we see here? Tax, when you begin to multiple tax on the companies cannot survive. We've seen even in Benin here, we have some local manufacturers who would want to give their best, manifest their skill and give their best and see that the economy is revitalized, but government policies had made them to be silent. And here we have some group of persons that want to share money among themselves as cronies, and they are telling you and me. They should publish the name of those who have applied, the 700 local manufacturers that have applied. They should publish their names. Let us begin to screen them. Let us begin to look at them, whether in the first place they are registered company in Nigeria. See, it is high time, like I said from the outset, that we told ourselves the truth. I do not see this process surviving. Under President Goodluck Jonathan, we heard of Shopee. Till today, who can give record of that? The past administration under Muhammadu Buhari, we saw another set of human beings who came and called borrower. They gave all form of nomenclatures to them. But today, where are the monies? Who is giving account of how much was spent? They embezzled the money. And do you think this one will be different? I do not agree with that. I do not see, because the process just now is not even clear. The process is not one that is open to all. The process is not one that is even inviting. So I see another form where tomorrow, no, because we don't give account, because those in government are not held accountable. So they will now use the monies, share it among their cronies, and at the end of the day, it will die a natural death. So it's a pity that just now the government is pretending to do what naturally the manufacturers themselves should do for themselves. Because they have association.
Okay, I think the grounds you have with the government is that lack of sincerity of purpose.
Yes.
I think that's what you have.
Yes.
Otherwise, if we go back to what you said concerning the Jakarta Steel and other public companies, you may not necessarily say that, because if you look at the production levels that come from private companies, from manufacturers, from MSMEs, they seem to have huge turnout that can bring about, positive figures for the economy.
What are you talking about? That they have huge figure then what is the state of the Nigerian economy?
Exactly why I said that you have a grasp with the sincerity of government. And don't you see like what the president said, that he has a template that is running with, of which you're going to judge him after 1 year.
With all due respect.
And don't you see this as, because we've always canvassed for our production levels to improve, to increase. We've always canvassed for such loans from the industries, Bank of Industries, to churn out these grants or these loans in order for our manufacturing companies to breathe. It has been what we've been canvassing. And experts have said it economically that this could bring a blue balance to the economy.
I disagree with that expert. I disagree with that economist. Look, let me tell you. In the first place, this money that is meant for this project just now was collected as loan. Hope you know that. Nigeria is going to be responsible for it. Nigeria is going to furnish that loan. And now you want to share that same money to a group of persons who assembled themselves and gave themselves the nickname manufacturers. Who are these persons? Are they faceless?
That's the point I'm trying to make. You are against this because you do not trust the process. But if you trust the process, it will be a different ballgame entirely.
It is.
I do not think with the state of Nigeria just now. Look, Nigeria is said to be a mixed economy. That's what we are made to understand. But as it stands just now, they have metamorphosed it into a capitalist society. And what is the price of cement just now? We have Dangote, who is a local manufacturer, who is also an international manufacturer. What is the price of cement in Nigeria? Bag of cement. What is the price of a bag of cement, Dangote cement, outside, in Cameroon, in Togo, in Benin? What is the price? See, we don't just come, say, because some persons just want to satisfy their cronies, and we go get loan that will be furnishing in the name of giving it to manufacturers.
Okay.
As palliatives.
Okay.
Palliatives have never worked in Nigeria.
I think he raised a very vital point, Omorogbe Awanfo. There are so much issues about the loans that we get as a country. Now, some have said that our posterity seems weak as long as we have a government that continues to borrow or take loans. It produces a weak economy. Now, let's see your perspective in this. Do you see this as a misplaced priority for the government to borrow in order to, pass it through these channels that the citizens don't even trust?
Thank you very much. I want to digress a little bit before coming straight to your question. First and foremost, after the inauguration of this government, we saw two policies that actually affected the economy.
Negatively or positively?
Initially, negatively.
So negatively?
Yeah. And the president, as at that time, promised that there would be processes in place to make sure these issues are not biting too hard on
Are you saying the promises being fulfilled?
Yes.
You are saying the promises being fulfilled?
Looking at a situation whereby policies affect economy, it's a process. The remedy to such issues are processes, and he promised that there will be palliatives to cushion the effect of the removal of subsidy and the issue of floating the naira. Initially, I think the first one was to the civil servants, whereby 35,000 naira were given to civil servants for a period of 6 months, and after which we saw people even agitating, asking why will it be possible, why will it just be only people working in the formal sector to gain or to get those palliatives initially. Afterwards, we started seeing this issue of student grants and the other grants of 50,000 naira that we have seen earlier and all those things. So I think the present government actually they are trying to make sure it goes round. And this other 700,000 subscribers on this issue of a 150 million naira loan. So why did I start from here? I just want our viewers to know that this government actually means well for this country. Because in the first place, when you are going to put a policy in place, there are processes you go to. My brother here mentioned an issue of no guarantee that it was going to go around and all that. But this issue of this 150 billion naira that is going to be shared among the SMEs and the manufacturers. There are modalities in place.
Okay, tell us the modalities. Because if you say that he's saying that there's no guarantee, that means you want to provide an evidence that there's guarantee.
Yes, there's guarantee.
Let's hear it.
Because there are processes at which you can assess this loan. One of the requirements the minister said was that you going to have a proof of you being in business for 1 year.
Yes, existence of your establishment.
Have a registered business with the CAC and have a kind of guarantee from your bank.
Is it difficult for all of this to peddle?
Sorry?
For someone who wants to, do something like a drama in order to hoodwink the people or to feed on the common patrimony of the people through pretentious means, is it difficult to get all of these documents?
Like Bishop has just mentioned, definitely in a society like this or in every jurisdiction all over the world, there's no way you can get 100% compliance of sincerity. Definitely, there might be 1 or 2 hiccups along the way.
So you give room for lapses, you mean?
Yeah, definitely, there must be. A policy where you have 100% is not in existence anywhere in the world. No. It's not in existence. So the issue that we should have at the back of our mind is to always believe in the government.
Okay.
Because a situation whereby any policy is being articulated or wanting to come to bear, before it gets to our table, we just cancel it. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. I think we are not helping ourselves as a country. So, on the other hand, coming back to your question, you talked about the issue of borrowing. If actually it's going to be like detrimental to our future,
or like pouring water into a basket.
There's no government in the world that does not borrow.
We know that, but what are you using the proceeds for? Because if you look at what we have here, it's quite a very fantastic idea. Like he said, Emmanuel Bakpolo, the lack of sincerity of purpose is what is really making a lot of citizens, banter over this, disapproving of what the government is doing. But if there is sincerity of purpose, like you said, and Igbasan said,
there's one thing
I don't think there will be fears in this
There's
direction.
one thing I want us to really look at when it comes to the present-day Nigeria. We should look at the person, the integrity of the person at the helm of affairs. We have seen how Bola Ahmed Tinubu handled Lagos. Like Bishop said, Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not somebody you can just play with when it comes to his policy, wanting to derail or wanting to jeopardize or make his policy not to work. He's not a very, very tolerant person. Even among, there was even a day in his, during their executive council meeting, he ordered the son out of the chambers. Yes. So this is somebody you see or you hear about, you know that he cannot be a part of any policy in this government, that he will not support anybody to spoil his plan, because especially when you see whenever he does anything, there are ready-made negative connotations to any of his policies.
Okay.
So, as far as I'm concerned, we should try as much as possible to be well informed, because I know that some people, some of these criteria I just mentioned just now, but for the simple fact that it is from the APC government, or to be exact, from Tinubu, a lot of people will not key in. They will say it's not going to work. How will you just, at a policy that has not been implemented, from your mind, you just say it's not going to work? So that empathy, that hatred for policies of government, I think we should still look at that. And proper education and information should be given to our people to always try as much as possible.
Thank you.
To embrace the policy of the present government.
Okay, thank you. I think, Emmanuel Bakpolo, you have to pencil down your responses. We'll come back to you and Bishop Austin Igbasa. But let's join Ibrahim Momo, a political economist. And so many issues have been itemized, most especially as regards the loans. We have the 150 billion naira loan that will be shared in two, about 75 for the MSMEs and 75 billion left for the manufacturers. Now, some have said, what is the criteria, or how is the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment going to inspect these companies to show if they are really existing, to show if they have capacity to turn back that fund? Because this was actually a borrowed money, and there is need to really put it into good use. You are an economist. Let's look at your perspective in this direction. Most especially, we have 700,000 manufacturers and MSMEs applying for this already. Now, what is the spread across the country? Is the 700,000 just breathing from one state or two states or only the FCT? And do we have evidences to show that we have some of these persons or MSMEs or young manufacturers coming from Edo State, other states in the south, southwest, in the north? So I want your breakdown on this.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, distinguished colleagues in the studio. I wanted to start by saying that the idea that everything that comes from government is wrong, cannot be good, it's not something that we should that kind of conception, which is not something that we should hold. Because when government fails, Nigerian fails. Nigeria and Nigerians fail. That's the first thing to say. Secondly, is the fact that it is expected that in a time of every time we have economic crisis, the government must throw up initiatives that will help to ameliorate, resolve, or curb or solve, even outrightly solve those economic challenges. That is in the light in which I view the initiatives, by this current administration, as in other administrations. Yes, it's often said that the price for success is eternal vigilance, and I give thumbs up to ITV and of course to you, for x-raying these issues. The questions you have asked, particularly, what is the spread? Where is the evidence for the 700,000? These are germane questions that ought to be asked. It's not the fact that it didn't work before, it cannot work now. That cannot be the issue for consideration. So regarding the spread, we have not seen the data, the breakdown of data state by state, but I can assure you that you'll be surprised that it is majority from what we are seeing with regards to the education loan. There is every likelihood that majority of the MSMEs who have applied will come from the north. And that is because a lot of us, particularly in the south, we have this mindset that whatever government is bringing is wrong.
Well, we just hope to establish connectivity with Ibrahim Momo, and then as soon as we get that, we're going to be hearing from him. He made mention of the aspect of majority of them even coming from the north, like the MSMs. Okay, we have information that Ibrahim Momo, we can hear you audibly. Go ahead with your contribution, Ibrahim.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't know for a while I was not audible. What I'm saying is that the question as to what we should be asking is those questions you have asked. Number one is what are the names of the MSMEs that have applied? We want to know them. So that they don't see it. And then what is the geographical spread? These are the questions we ought to be asking. And without mincing words, the idea of support for MSMEs is a laudable one. No government anywhere in the world can meet the yearnings and aspirations of the people. No government on its own can do that. It requires the buy-in of the organized private sector, or if you may, micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises, MSMEs, to push, because in Nigeria today, it appears that the major employer of labor is government. That's how it is in Nigeria, and that is wrong. A situation whereby the national minimum wage, the minimum wage negotiation between labor and government, is the major issue in a country. It's wrong. Ideally, the real issue about wage should be what is the MSME, the organized private sector, what is the business sector paying? Because that is supposed to be the sector that boosts the economy. That's the sector that should be the largest employer of labor. But it appears that in Nigeria, government is the major. So it is in that light that I actually do commend the Tinubu administration for this 75 billion, or is it 150 billion, that is being given to 700. That is a massive number. 700,000 MSMEs. I'm telling you, if indeed every of these 700,000 MSMEs puts that funds to work, the idea of hunger in the land, the idea of nobody will even remember whether the government exists. Because in fact, this medium, ITV, we can see the lead and bounds it has gotten to because it's a private sector driven enterprise. We have comparatively, with all due respect, state owned and government, federal government owned similar outfits in the states. Can we compare them? The point, therefore, is that if indeed government follows through with this support for 700,000 MSMEs, it will be an elixir for takeoff. You know, in political science, we talk about the preconditions for takeoff, W.W. Rosen. That will be a precondition for takeoff of the economy. So I'm sure if we do a year or two, or even within this maybe 3 or 4 years of this economic administration, we'll be talking about, you know, outstanding economic growth and not the situation of poverty that we're looking at.
Thank you, Ibrahim Mama. But I think I still need to ask you this question. You remember vividly what the legal practitioner said, Emmanuel Bakbolo, lack of sincerity of purpose is actually the challenge we're having with the government. We can't tell if the administration under President Bola Tinubu will also follow orders where so many intervention programs came and there were so much stories about misappropriation, diversion of funds. And that was why I asked you basically, how do we know the spread? And basically, you have not even gotten the data. And Emmanuel Bakbalo also said that for a government to be seen as accountable, there should be a publishing of these records, those companies, existing companies, you know, and their spread should be published. Let's get to know if there's a fair spread and if these companies that are really getting these benefits are really worth their onions. What's your reaction in that?
Well, thank you very much. 2 quick issues on that. On the issue of spread, it is impossible for government to have an even spread. It's impossible. And it shouldn't even be a countenance or encouraged. It has to be willing buyer, willing seller, willing applicants, and willing grant giver. If I have a firm, maybe a small scale enterprise, and I didn't apply for the loan, if majority of enterprises, small scale enterprises, medium or micro small scale enterprises in those states do not apply, we are not expected that, it's not anticipated or expected that government will hold down the funds meant to be allocated to those who applied because people, MSMEs in the door refuse to apply. The point, therefore, is that it is up to the MSMEs across the federation to apply for it and then meet the criteria and get funded. So as to whether we have the data on the spread, we should ask, we continue to demand. Recently, the educational NILDS, the National Education Loan Scheme, brought out data that indicated that even Borno State, University of Maiduguri in Borno State, students have applied, more students have applied there than the University of Benin. That is something that should bother us. How come we have this kind of a deleterious mindset that anything that comes from government is bad? So that's the first thing. Government is not expected to give to those who didn't apply. Ideally, it is for a willing buyer, willing seller, willing applicant, willing grantor. That means if you apply, the government consider your application, and on the merit of your application, they give you grant. So if MSMEs they do not apply or data do not apply, and more people from Kano or Katsina or Borno apply, government, out of fairness, equity, must give to those who apply and leave those who do not apply. That's the reality. So that's it on that point. Then on the other little issue of publishing the data, I think we ought to ask for it. Let government publish the data of those who have applied. But it's not for me, I don't think it's even enough to publish that data. I think what we should be looking at is, at the end of the process, we need to know who applied for what and who was given. Not just publishing the names of, for example, if 700,000 businesses have applied, not every one of them will meet the conditions for getting the loan. Not every one of them. You don't just because you applied the money, it's not a given. It's possible that at the end of the day, it's only 200,000 or 150,000 or even 50,000 of these businesses that will meet the criteria. There are a lot of criteria that are to be met. For example, I think one of the panelists in the studio have already pointed out the fact that there are conditionalities that ought to be met. If many of them do not meet it, they shouldn't be given, because we have to. This is public funds. In fact, the money that was borrowed, that money has to be repaid. If it's to be repaid, those who are themselves taking the loans ought to be to ensure that they are putting those loans to good use, making profits, and faithfully repaying the loans. That is my take on the issue.
We really had the conversation with Ibrahim Momo, and he also brought about issues about the spread and the inability for us to have a fair spread. He said in his words that there is no way we should expect a fair spread. And I will be interrogating this. Bishop Austin Igbasa, what do you make of this? Because some have said that equity, should be given in governance. And we know basically, like what Ibrahim Momo said, there must be, for a transaction to take place, there must be willing buyers and sellers, just as there must be willing, government and applicants in order to get this transaction work. What do you make about the spread? Do you see it as what should be fair as regards what Ibrahim Momo said?
One major thing about Sultana, and it's painful. Number one is that most Sultana does not believe in government. And that's why I said, even the palliative that was given in the days of traders' money and the rest of them, if you remember vividly, the woman who was in charge of humanitarian towards the end of Buhari's government, the woman chunked a lot of money to Northern. There are even grants that are given monthly that it is only Northern that collects, because why? There's docility from the south.
Are you sure about that, or is it a deliberate plan?
No, what I'm saying is docility. Now, look at my son Barrister here. He has already criticized the system. If I analyze what the federal government put in place before this money is being disbursed, you will know that Tinubu's government is a serious government. That you cannot just come. Number one, when you submit your corporate affairs and your record as a company that have been existing, and you show us where your company has been existing and the transaction your company have been doing for some time, also the DSS will peruse. It is not going to, those who have applied now, the money have not been given to them because there are internal screening and scrutiny that goes on to be able to say, when we are giving this money out, don't forget that the personality of the president is very important. That's why I tell people, even as we are talking of election here, you look at the arrowhead, because the personality is even more stronger than the party he represents. When you look at the antecedent of an individual who is thorough, who is firm, and knows this man is not somebody that doesn't know what we're going through. He's not a novice that was brought from somewhere. He's not somebody that is not a grassroots politician that does not know what our children are going through. Now, that is why within this time, let's look at the student loan. Look at the way the man follow it up. Look at the discussion with the NFC. So it is not a man that will take something from the surface. He's not a surface scratcher. He's a man that look deep down and be able to take some decision. We have seen some cabals who are untouchable in this country for the first time. For the first time that they are crying. Now, some of them are crying. These protests you saw now, a lot of cabals that have been touched by the policy of this government are through the back mobilizing people, say, let us work against it. So, as far as it is concerned, number one, the docility of the Sultana, sitting down to say, I was telling them in church yesterday, I said there are people here who said election of Edo State has already been written. I said, and you want to change the nation? Well, my father said you didn't go to market. Your children didn't go. Your wife didn't go. You said market not full. I go full when you have not gone. Now, we can't sit down here and say it is not going to work. We are going to participate in it. And that's why I encourage people, I have been doing that one for over 20 years, that children of God should go into politics. We made somebody a governor in this state. The first thing he did was to remove signboard of churches. If that man is really a true member of a church, we need to put a policy in place and remove iron signboard. They turned government house that time to become iron market. And this is a man that which if that guy is a member, if somebody is my deacon, I became local government chairman, and he wants to say, oh, people should not sell, they should not sell in the market. The first thing I will put a call to him, that we sent you from this church. You want to disturb people, the poor people that are struggling? He will listen to me because I ordained him. So what I told you, cannot fight from outside. You must belong inside. You must go inside. So you remember the time of House of Assembly here. I told the guys, be sworn in. You can't fight a man from outside. But you are member elect, become a member, now full member. You can't throw stone from out. Stay inside. If you want to even impeach the man, you can do it in 1 hour when you are already inside. But they ignore my advice then. At the end of the day, you become Bulgaria. Bulgaria is in Yoruba means you are failed. You say you failed woefully.
Exactly my point. What is the challenge we are facing right now?
Now,
what will be the possibility, or don't you think there could be
there's
a
an
narration where,
as far as this money is concerned?
Let me land. Don't you think there will be a narration where even if these monies are being given to these manufacturers, we have the challenge of the fuel subsidy removal, we have the challenges of price of diesel. Now, how can such companies or manufacturers be able to churn out these figures in terms of paying back the loan and in terms of also, taking care of the huge costs of productions that have come as a result of the fuel subsidy removal? Don't you say this is a plan to fail?
It's never a plan to fail, because if you have a business now with the skyrocketing price of fuel and diesel and you don't have money to run the business, what happens? The business goes down, you go bankrupt, your staff go home, and it even affects our security. Where people are not gainfully employed, they don't know where they are going. Some people today, they are out of the street because they have somewhere going.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Now,
so if this money comes in, what's the guarantee that it won't still go through the channels of exorbitant prices of cost of production?
What I'm saying is that when the money comes in, you are not saying if the money doesn't come, what happened to the company?
Because you have to pay the interest.
I know, but you must know that the interest and the spread, some of the spread, according to what I read, is 3 years and 5 years. And the spread is not a kind of money that there is rope on your neck to pay now. The country, don't forget that this money is not to punish the manufacturer. It is to encourage them, to make them to remain in business. And there is nowhere in the world that government, by some mention textile industry and all, any country you leave business for government, such country cannot exist, because the small scale industry, as I said to you, the big man that put money in the bank is not the one helping the bank. It is the little that the poor people come and drop every day. That is what the bank lives on. The rich man goes there to take money to borrow from bank, but the poor people say, let me keep this money. I want to buy land. I want to do this. That is what the bank on daily basis. So bringing that money is not a plan to make the manufacturers to fail. Number one is to make them to remain in business and be viable. Don't forget that Mr. President did this as a palliative to keep them on board. The plans are underway. Port Harcourt Refinery, a lot of things are going on under that are not being published now. That is going to definitely bring the fuel down and make life better. Now we are talking of CNG buses coming. Now when this one, when we patronize Innocent, that was what Jonathan did that time. We encourage you, say, look at the local manufacturer. There's a company that is manufacturing vehicle in Shagamu Ekpe now. That government is going to partnering with all these local ones so that we'll be able to boost their economy. Not because when they have more staff and they have sales, the company will remain and they'll be able to meddle inside this water. Let me say this to you. Even in the days of the Bible, there was a time that there was famine, that people are eating their children.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, it's not everybody that kills their children. Now, when you have money coming that is not coming from normal bank, that is going to put rope on your neck, you will not be able to downsize on what you do with that money. Now, you want them to be with that money and say, because things are up, we must encourage them to be in business. And I can tell you that no matter the heat, don't forget that the economic challenges we are talking about is not peculiar to Nigeria. A lot of people abroad are also suffering. So it is not something that is caused by this government. Don't also forget that the previous government have collected upfront money, and this government is using crew to pay for money that was collected before. It takes a man that is sound to be able to manage what Nigeria is going on at this moment. I don't envy Mr. President. I don't envy him the time he took over the government. I don't envy him because of all the things that have been on ground. Look at stealing of crude oil. Look at the effort the man has put in place. As smugglers, they will tell you that for the past 1 year, it has been business unusual. That is leadership. Not a leader that sat down and they said 99% of our crude is being stolen, and we said, well, we are on top of it. This man is a man that is firm And I can tell you, if many governors today support Mr. President, and what they are collecting from him, they are able to tell their people, that I got this from Mr. President last month to be able to solve the pain. Today, allocation of each of the states today is times 3. Okay. Now, what are the governors doing with it?
We are going to
the man cannot come outside like Professor Oshibanjo.
Okay, Bishop you've articulated a point. Big thanks.
Traders' money.
Now, we're going to the palliative support system of the government, and it's going to touch not only the federal but also the state. Because I was seeing a report where it was said that even the 543 billion naira, given to states government, not really a grant, not free, but is a loan that they must repay. Because these are issues about the federal government, get a loan from the World Bank. And you made mention of the fact that even what the previous got and the present under President Bola Tinubu is paying back using our crude oil, using our oil facilities. Now, isn't this a sad narrative, Emmanuel Obakwalo? Because it's one thing for even the government, the federal government, to, give this monies to the state governors. It's another if this money is not going to line the pockets of the state governors. What's your reaction in that? As regards the palliative support system.
It's unfortunate that those who make attempts to defend this administration cannot even convince me that I seated here. They cannot convince me. So I wonder how they are going to convince majority of Nigerians. When you take loan, you have it at the back of your mind that you are also going to furnish that loan. And that loan has conditions. The time you take the loan, the time the loan is going to lapse. Before you take that loan, you made an application with respect to how that loan is going to be used and for what purpose. The germane question I have this morning for the federal government is the 150 billion loan that was collected that is to be given to MSMEs
and manufacturers.
And manufacturers. Was this for the purpose it was collected for? The application was made. 2, does the government have in mind the already homegrown manufacturers it intended to distribute this money to, and what they do that will boost the economy? It is not just going to take loan to get loan. That is not just it. Even before the application is made for the loan, you have a program already. Because if you don't have a program, he who fails to plan, plans to fail. The monies at the end of the day will just go into the dish, and there will be no accountability.
Okay, comment on the subnational government, for instance, the palliative support system, looking at monies being given to the state government. Do you really go against the effort of the federal government to give state governments this money in tranches? We have reports that this is the second tranche they're getting.
For goodness sake, the federal government gets loan, give to the state government. Within a period of time, you are not seeing the impact of that loan on the people. And you continue with that process. And you do not see it as settlement. I see it as such. Government cannot come and convince me, the federal government to be specific, that money is given to the state government. It is not aware that the state governors are not using the money to impact the people. Government cannot convince me on that. So when you discover that the monies you are giving to the state governors, they are not accountable for it, they are not using it to impact the life of the people, what do you do next? You stop giving the money to them. Because now, these governors are taking advantage of the provision of Section 308 of the Constitution that they have immunity, which the federal government also is aware of. So what do? Do we now fold our hands and say until the end of the tenure, when you and I know that the next government may not come and prosecute them? Because the government may not come and say, we are not aware of how the monies were gotten, how the monies were distributed. That's because we don't keep account.
So what you're saying that it's like a free gift to government.
It's a jamboree. It's a jamboree for all of them. They know what they are doing. They just get our monies, plunge us into more indebtedness, and this country is dying, and they are pretending that they are doing something. And somebody will come and sit there and will not be able to convince me that those people in government don't know what they are doing. In your private business, will you manage it like that? They have private business. Are they managing their private businesses like that? And they think that we are all dummies. And say, oh, some people may make applications, some people don't make applications. I challenge the government this morning. They should publish the names of the 700 firms that have applied. They should publish them. Let we, the public, also screen them.
Okay, but don't forget, as we look at the subnational government, don't forget that the palliative support system have gone to some extent where even in state governments, you see people receiving these palliatives in form of food, like bags of rice, for instance. You know, we even heard where the president even said, the presidency said, about 740 trucks loaded with bags of rice will be distributed alongside across the 30 states of the Federation and the FCT. Do you go against that?
I'm against it because we saw it during COVID-19. It didn't work. We saw it in this country. State governors hid Indomie. Our state here, the governor hid Indomie.
What do you mean our state here, the governor? You mean the previous governor?
Is it not this 2020 that we had COVID-19? Who was in power? See, until people broke into the warehouse.
But it may be wrong of you to say that the product was hidden by the governor.
They told us...
That's actually a bogus statement.
They told us, when the warehouse were broken into, I heard the deputy governor then, the person of Comrade Philip Shaibu said, we kept them there for exigencies. What could be more exigent than what the people were going through during COVID-19? See, this pretense that were pretending. Even see the one just now, at a point we heard that it was given to Khan. It was given to the Christian folks and to the Muslims. We heard different stories. We saw how some persons came up to make defense. We even heard, at first, somebody denied that it did not get to the Edo state. 3 states, Abia, Edo, and one other state, if I can remember, I will mention, denied receiving any. But later on, we are meant to understand, Edo came up to say, oh, we received some. How did it go round? We even heard where somebody said, oh, we kept them there, so we are on the way to Auchi, so we are on the way to Uromi. We are all manner of defenses.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Let's get your reaction in that. You have supported the federal government, palliative system. Now, we have this where it gets to the subnational government. Do you see the same spread or distribution of it, just like the federal government does to the subnational?
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that most times policies of government are being hijacked by one or two other level of government. On the issue of the rights, Barrister mentioned, I think they said about 20 trucks or 200 trucks or so were given to Edo State as palliative to be.
The focus is not in Edo State. It's on subnational governments.
Yes, I'm just trying to narrow it down.
Otherwise, I don't have the right panelists to discuss this if you are to zoom it on Edo State. So let's just be general.
Okay. So the issue is that most of these palliatives, like I always say, palliative is not a permanent cure to a situation. It's just for the time being. And Bishop has said it just now that and it's in the public domain that in no distant time, the refinery from Port Harcourt will start to work, and we pray that the Dangote refinery kicks up on time so that the fuel price will a little bit come down, so that this palliative issue is just to kind of cushion the effect for a time being, not total cure.
Okay, but some have said that, like what Emmanuel Bakolo said, that when these monies are being given to state governors, it seems not to trickle down to people.
Yes.
But rather to line up their pockets. Yes. Do you agree to that?
To some extent, yes. Because most times, especially when it is obvious that the party at the center is not the same with the state government, they tend to try as much as possible to to spoil each other's policies. Like you have said just now, that if the federal government actually are convinced that state governors don't use the money appropriately, that they can stop it. It is not possible for the federal government to say, because the state is not using this money properly, we won't give you again. It is not possible. It's statutory for federal government to disburse or give this kind of money to different states. It's statutory, it's constitutional. So they cannot hold on to it. Otherwise, you bring a bigger problem.
Okay, but how do we improve on accountability?
Sorry, sir. Palliative is not constitutional. Statutory allocation is constitutional. I agree with that absolutely. But for palliative, it's not constitutional.
But you cannot.
It's a policy.
Yes,
it's a mere policy.
but at the end of the day, you cannot give state A and not give state B. It will not be sectional now. Like the issue of these grants we are talking about, these loans we are talking about. I think Pastor Bishop mentioned just now that this awareness of a thing matters a lot, because most times when some of these policies or these palliatives are being rolled out, our people will never educate those to apply, and you find out that people from the north or from the west gets more, and we from this side will start to make complaints to say we are being marginalized, they never give to us and all those things.
So what you're saying that subnational government agencies should also key in?
Yeah, they should key in, and information is key. The advertisement and making the people know. Like this issue of these SMEs now, how many people in Niger Road or even Igosa are aware that such a thing is happening? If you even go to one or two places in the local market and tell them to apply, they will look at you as if what you are just saying is not in existence.
Is it not the same problem where even the distribution of bags of rice, for instance, some have even said that where did it take place? How many persons have really received this? And what is the touch of the spread?
On the issue of the rice, I want to be particular again, because although you have said that we should not narrow it to this state, most of these palliatives, I mean these commodities, most of them, they share it by way of political affiliation. You understand? You see a situation whereby in our state here, they said a few weeks ago or months ago, CAN was given the permission or the authority to share this thing among churches and all. I want to say vividly here, is it that because you don't go to church, you won't get your share of it? What happens to those people in Ayala Shrine? I think why would they not be captured into it?
I think it wasn't restricted. It wasn't only limited to churches. For the very fact that the body CAN was involved, doesn't mean that it was limited to churches. But they also used that as a way to distribute to the channels to others who are not even of the Christian faith. So point of information there.
Why did they not give some to Ayala?
I'll come back to you. Of course, we're about the palliative system of government and how the government at subnational levels are driving policies in that direction to help ameliorate the plight of the citizens across the spread of the states and even including the FCT. But some have said that could this not be properly managed, whereby these funds are put into better use rather than giving the governors of the states to embark on purchases of bags of rice or food items that will not even see to the end of hunger, particularly in the states. So rather than do this, where you can account for the amount spent for this project, is it not better to really involve other stakeholders where you can have lasting projects that will help ameliorate the plight of the citizens as regards transportation and, of course, as regards reduction of the price of products, commodities, and food items? And Ibrahim Momo, I guess you're still with me. So let's feel your pulse and take your perception in this regard as it applies to palliative being shared or the amounts being given to state governments by the federal government, which actually should be seen as accountable to make sure that every money spent meet the target audience. But do you think differently that this money should have been used for better projects rather than use it for food items?
One word, no. I think that whether government has capital project intentions and does not stop it from doing palliative measures, putting palliative measures in place. So the answer, they are not mutually exclusive. While governments ordinarily ought to engage in strategic long-term plans, programs, and projects, it has an enduring obligation to also address short and medium-term interventions. That is where palliatives come in. And I think the word palliative is deliberate. It is not something that's supposed to be perennial, to be forever. It is in this sitting stage. You know, since the reforms of this administration, everybody agrees. In fact, the major political parties, their candidates agree that fuel subsidy was a scam. All of them in total agree. Secondly is that you could see the purported forex policy of Godwin and Emefiele. How the investigation by the Obazel-led committee that investigated the CBN under Emefiele, Godwin and Emefiele, exposed the racketeering, literal racketeering that was going on. So we could not, in all sense of responsibility, continue in that process. And that was a period where the revenue FAC, that's Federal Account Allocation Commission, the revenue that were being shared in FAC were at an all-time low, at least within the last, in the Buhari administration. At that same time, when you were getting about 400 billion, 500 billion, that was what the entire federation was sharing. In the time when we had this kind of mess going on in the CBN, the same period. So obviously, it is madness to do the same thing over and over again and to expect a different result. That's a classic definition of madness. So everybody agrees that those reforms are necessary. Now, the fact that those reforms are necessary reforms that are being carried out, they come with some teething challenges, some problems, some challenges at the point of implementation. In order to mitigate, ameliorate, assuage the challenges, particularly for the downtrodden, the upper law in society, we needed to bring in this palliative. The only point, people have raised is that the federal government does not have a system of its own for directly implementing its palliative program. It has to go through other levels of government. And if you remember, at the last count, about 21 states do not have elected local government officials. So the only level of or tier of government that this present administration is constrained to work with is the state government. And then the story across the states, only very few states. People are even criticizing Edo. But you know that Edo is only one of few states that was even giving out a palliative at all. People criticize Edo, but who is asking our neighboring states, Delta, Ondo, Kogi, Anambra, what palliative measures they put in place in those states? Those are our neighbors here. Who is the one asking those questions? So, whereas people can say, yeah, the government of Edo has not done well in terms of how it has, particularly federal government palliatives, it is still even among the best state governors. You are saying the government, you are saying the state government is not even doing anything, but it's among the best state governors, meaning that the point I'm making is that state governors, writ large, are a mess, are a disappointment, are a failure when it comes to these short-term palliative measures. Whether federal government brings palliatives or not, state governors, state governments ought to act ordinarily. Now you don't have a situation whereby even the federal government is bringing majority and overwhelming majority of the states do not even bring those palliatives to the knowledge of these people, and not even interested in distributing these palliatives. Only
Mama said a whole lot there, and even as regards the state government sharing of palliatives, he made mention of the state government, Edo State in particular, that did a lot of sharing as regards other states of government that were never captured in that light. Well, let's get your perception in that regard, because we need to see these palliatives being shared the proper way. You are the senior pastor of Son of Liberation Bible Church. It's assumed that you got some bags of rice too.
By the grace of God, I didn't even see a grain of rice in the dream. I stand here to say, as big as I am in this town, as far as God's work is concerned, I didn't see a grain, just a drop of grain of rice.
Are you not a member of CAN?
By the grace of God, I'm a member of CAN. So but I won't talk on their behalf because we should look at
because it's no longer on the part of the state government, because that was already given that responsibility. CAN was given that responsibility.
The question you ask yourself
so
is that
maybe it was at your level or at your level that you were not able to reach or network.
I'm saying this one for clarity. If somebody like me did not see a grain of rice for the people in our church, then you now begin to look at other pastors who have not got into my cadre, that you now know that how those ones will be able to corner their way. But you see, be that as it may, as I'm seated here, I have chains of widow on my payroll, pastors' wives that are late, that will take care of their children, who I didn't even know their husband when they are alive. But what I think mostly is that we are talking of federal government sending something to state not able to disburse it to the right people. Even the state on their own, without federal government, they have to have their own intervention for their people. The governors that are receiving ×3 allocation, they must be able to do something for their people minus the federal government. Now, accumulating that one with the federal government supposed to be a boost for every person. The question we ask ourselves is that if I have my way, I will tell Mr. President, in the days of fuel scarcity, in Edo State here, Engineer Gaius Obaseki was head of NNPCs there, and what he does is that every filling station supply every day, there is a list that is released on EBS and other television that they roll and say, total Ikoba slope, you give it 30,000 litres, total IC road, this is how much is given. I think that if Mr. President open up what has been given to each state governor, you'll be so amazed. I am not impressed about the disbursement.
But you hear what Ibrahim Momo said, that even some states, even in the east, even in the north, are not doing this. Unlike what we have in Edo State, where the state government was even going about doing this. Don't you see this as laudable? Because if you make a comparative analysis of Edo State alongside other states.
No, what I'm saying is that
where other states captured.
Have you gone to Lagos? Lagos have a Saturday market where you buy things 50% cut up, slash up.
A bag of rice, 40,000.
40,000 there. You go to every part of Lagos.
Because remember, even when the government was saying that they've rescinded that decision to give at that level. I have not seen anywhere they've been selling bag of rice at 40,000. If you've seen, you can let me know.
I have people in Lagos. If you want to even get their phone number, I can give you after this program so that you can call them for Lagos and bring rice. What I'm saying is that you see the government.
At what price?
At 40,000. If you want after this program, I'll give you the number. What I'm saying is that
why is it restricted to Lagos State?
He's talking about the person who is in charge. The person that is in charge.
Is it a state government initiative?
Yes, it is a state government initiative. Even their transport and everything. You are talking of Edo State here that you said free transportation. How many buses? Those buses that are down on the road, how many buses are carrying people? Count this ratio of the buses that are carrying people on the street.
If you talk about Edo State, what about looking at the federal government? You've been all about defending the federal government.
Yes.
Now we've had this challenge where even right from time when the president announced that there's going to be 3,000 units of CNG buses provided, till now we are yet to see it. Even when we saw it on the pages of the newspaper this morning that they are coming, but we can't even have a trace of it. How do you look at the lack of accountability on the part of the federal government and not able to do that?
What I'm telling you is that somebody gives you money that is not your father's money to give to people. You are now thinking as if you are doing them good. What I'm saying is, as a state governor, you have the right to take care of your people, because we are enjoying a lot of things here. Let them go to states that are volatile, that people are killing, that are states today that army cannot wear their uniform. Before, they cannot wear their uniform. It's like when you put it on, you have already do your service of song. Now, when you are in a peaceful state, and people are not volatile, your people are there, you are accountable to the people to take care of them. Now, from your allocation from anything, I've advised so many governors that who can do this, it's not rocket science. Have a meeting with Tuke driver and sit them down. How much are you buying fuel? He said, we are buying so amount of money. From my allocation as a governor, I am paying 400 naira per litre on every fuel you are going to buy. I choose 21 filling station and I disburse the money there. I call somebody in that community to stand by there to see that every tuke come here to come and buy. Now, when you have this meeting, you say everywhere you are carrying people is 100 naira in every part of Benin. You don't need rocket science. You just put somebody to stand there, say civil servant, somebody in that street stand there. Everybody that carry 200 naira for any passenger, we seize your bus and we crush it. It's not rocket science. Call the bags or those who are selling bags of rice and see them down. How much do you sell bag of rice? As a governor, I am paying 40,000 on each bag. I'm going to position a government worker here, a street person here, one of the area boys here. They will stand there to monitor that nobody buy more than one bag. It is not for those who are going to go and resell it. It's not rocket science. You are paid the money directly and you monitor with CCTV camera on how the rice is being given. It is not going to be given to any member of political party. It is the poor that will come and buy there. You buy one bag. And you cannot buy one bag more than 1 week or 2 weeks. When you are buying, we take your NIN and they snap it. It's not rocket science. You want to beat the bakers, those who are baking bread. As a governor, you have meeting with them. They have association. How much are you doing bread? Why is it that bread has gone up? From my allocation, from my what is given to me every month, my security vote and the rest, I am paying 20,000 on each bag.
Okay, that's a way of you trying to support the subsidy regime.
That is what I'm saying.
No. Because I remember vividly you supported the federal government for removing fuel subsidy. But now you are advising the state government to embark on another subsidy.
It's not subsidy, it's palliative. You are not going to do it for 4 years. It's something you do to the December time that people will get themselves together. Okay. The people you are leading, do you want them to die before the election?
I'll come back to you to take your...
The question is that
I'll come back to you to
there
take
are
your closing
states
remarks.
that are doing fantastically well, that we can mention, or even senators. How many senators in Edo State today is sharing politics that we're talking about?
Okay. I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you.
You will not ask yourself that you see somebody like Senator Yayi in Ogun State. Look at what the guy did. You ask yourself, is it not same palliative that was given to senators? House of Rep.
Bishop Austin Igbasan, big thanks for your articulation. I'll come back to you for your closing remarks. Just the way you said it, it's quite awesome, very, very appetizing. And we're having a wide appetite over that. Because we look at the hunger protest, for instance, all that transpired. We're looking at the pages of the newspapers today where it was said that applications are being considered in the law court to bar further hunger protests in Nigeria. And we started quizzing, how possible would that be? Because you put people, you give policies that make them subject to such a level where they can't but react, and you are telling them that they shouldn't react. Is it possible? Some have said that this protest was all about the government to reverse the obnoxious policy about the fuel subsidy that was removed and give the people some fresh air so that there can be a more symptomatic approach in removing it entirely rather than the way it was removed. Now, let's take your reaction over what Bishop Austin Igbasan said as regards the state palliative. Don't you think the federal government should also do the same as regards reversing the obnoxious policy that the people feel are obnoxious?
You see that there is confusion among the government, those in government. It is expressed that those in government don't even have the wherewithal or are not wired, with all due respect, to ensure that they alleviate the suffering of Nigerians. Rather, they take delight in infusing more pains on the people. And just like when Bishop was talking, after giving some analysis with respect to what the state governors should be doing, something ran through my mind, and you quickly mentioned it. That is another form of subsidy. So I would want to agree.
He said palliatively for a while. And it was expected that even the federal government also allow the subsidy of fuel to stay for a while so that it can be symptomatically removed.
Do you know the problem of the purported subsidy remover? The president did not sit down to take time to understand the intricacies of subsidy. Subsidy would have been gone systematically, just like you are saying. But the president just wanted to be the Superman that he feels he is. With the wave of the palm, subsidy gone. Where are we today?
But he said he didn't remove it. He said it was removed by the previous administration.
Spare me that defense.
No, they paid till that time.
That administration paid to June ending.
June ending.
That's what we're made to understand. That's why I tell you that there's no transparency. And once there's no transparency, the people cannot trust you. There's no accountability. In government, all the government we have, from federal government to local government, there's no form of accountability. And you want the people to not trust you. How? How do you want that? And the people are here suffering.
Okay.
Now we are saying that there should be palliative by the state governors for some period of time to alleviate the suffering of the people. Look, how is that going to work? Nigeria is a complex compound system with our complex compound minds, unfortunately. And that is why you see what we are over what the politicians are more.
Okay.
And that's why they take delight in seeing that the people suffer. Because poverty is a weapon.
Okay.
The poverty we have today in Nigeria is deliberate by those in government.
Okay,
because by the time this is an approach by Niccolo Machiavelli in his book,
I take that as your closing remarks. Let's get your viewpoint in 1 minute because let's look at what you have to say as regards the federal government being accountable into making sure that the people's plight are really ameliorated, most especially when at this crucial time when there is hunger in the land. There is need for the government to go back to the policies that it tempered with and find a way for the people to breathe.
The main issue here is,
mostly as regards to the fuel subsidy removal.
The main issue here is that, like what Bishop has said, that whenever something is given out, whether by way of grants or by way of subsidy, how it actually goes down to the common man, this issue of palliative, we are just zeroing our mind towards what the president is giving or what the state government is supposed to be given. I want to tell you this for free, that even senators are supposed to be giving palliatives to their constituents. If you go to Edo North now, the senator representing Edo North is giving out palliatives. The senator representing Edo Central is doing the same thing.
So it should trickle down.
What is happening? Don't we have a senator representing Edo South in this country, in this state? The senator representing Edo South, as we speak, has nothing that he's doing when it comes to this issue of palliative. So, on the nutshell...
Are you saying that because of party sentiments?
It's what I know. It's what I know. I'm just buttressing what he's saying, that there's no accountability, because even if we say he's not doing it now, who asked those questions? Who will you ask and all those stuff? But however, I still want to advise the federal government on this issue of palliative. I think if the federal government gets to know, or not gets to know, they're already aware that most of these things don't get to us. You see where rice are being warehoused in some other locations. I think if actually it is constitutionally right for federal government to stop the palliative, they can stop it and use it for infrastructure. They can use it to boost light.
Okay.
Because the idea of just giving billions of naira to state governors to start sponsoring their candidate in elections, I think we should be
Thank you, N150.
Be out of that situation.
Before we call it a wrap, let's quickly get your closing remarks on this. Ibrahim Momo, I believe we can establish connectivity with you.
Yeah, I am here. I'm not one of those who support the idea that because government wants to engage in infrastructural projects like revamping refineries, rail networks, roads, and the rest, that it should abandon the hopoloi, the downtrodden, the less privileged in society. I think, again, to reemphasize that both are not mutually exclusive. It doesn't mean that it's not an either-or situation. It's either you do this or do that. It is a joint, it's something that both of them can be done concurrently.
Okay.
Government has enough, because since the removal of fuel subsidy and the liberalization of the foreign exchange market, government is now much, much more liquid than it used to be.
Thank you.
In fact, even with
Thank you, Ibrahim Momo. I'm afraid that's the most we can take. Big thanks for taking our time to be part of this, Ibrahim Momo. You've been with us all through since 7:30 a.m. and we can only say have a beautiful day ahead of you. Big thanks to you, Bishop Austin Igbasan. Just one word.
Yes, mine is that the president meant well, and one of the ways it can trickle down is the autonomous of the local government.
Thank you.
And with that, the man will relate directly to the people down.
Thank you. One word from you, Emmanuel Obapolo.
Unfortunately, we have an executive government that wants to ridicule the judiciary. The executive government of Nigeria should stop ridiculing the judiciary. That is what I have to say.
Okay, you one word.
Finally, I will say I will advise the Christian Association of Nigeria to not to be partisan when it comes to the issue of politics and palliative, so that they don't state their names.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, and big thanks for coming, and I wish you a beautiful day ahead of you.